Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Darren Pendergraft, VP of Product Marketing, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our webcast all about automatically extracting data from your invoices to make your job more fun. That's right, more fun. We're all about having fun here at Ephesoft. With me today is Mr. Chris McWilliams. He's the manager of our solution engineering team, and he and I are going to split up the presentation today. Chris, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Darren. Excited to be here.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, let's get going. So as I said, we're going to tag team this. I'm going to get us started by talking about the things that make your job not so much fun. Just a couple short things, just to kind of show you how we're kind of thinking about the problems that our accounting teams face when they're looking at automating their invoice processing. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we do make it fun, but then the really good stuff is Chris is going to do a live demo. So he's going to actually walk you through invoice processing, right? And you can see how much fun it will be. We'll then come back to me. I've got 2 case studies. They're very short. And then we'll take your questions at the end of the webcast. As we go, if you think of things, just go ahead and chat them in. We'll take a look at all those at the end and we'll answer as many as we have time for. So let's get started. You know, as I think about this, as I talk to customers, as we talk to customers about really what makes invoice processing difficult, what we quickly realized is that the things that give you headaches about your job probably depend on where in your organization you work, right? So if you're the actual hands-on accounting person that deals with invoices, you're going to have a certain set of headaches. If you're the manager of the team, you have a slightly different but related set of headaches. If you're a controller, it's different. And then if you own a company or if you're a VP of finance or a CFO, again, different set of things that are going to make your job not so much fun. So if you're an accounting clerk, you want to get rid of all the manual keying of invoices, right? You don't like doing things over and over if they could be automated, right? You want to feel like you're really delivering good value to your organization by working on more advanced accounting projects, dealing with vendors, working on prepaid discounts, stuff like that. If you're the manager of the accounting team, you're going to be focused on, making sure you got the right people in the job. Are you processing a large number of invoices, that sort of thing. If you're a controller or a CPA, you're probably more focused on, do I have everything I need from my audits? Do I have a paper trail for everything? And if you're a VP of finance, you're probably just unhappy all the time. I don't know how much we can help you, but you're really focused on kind of how's the company doing? How is my cash flow? Are my vendors getting paid? What are my days outstanding on some of these payments, right? So the things that give you heartburn and make your job not so much fun are really going to depend on where you're at, kind of in that hierarchy. Now, we're going to focus almost all of our time today on the accounting people, on the clerks, right? On the people who are manually keying things in. So I want to just take a minute to talk about what makes the accounting team's job miserable. So I've got kind of a simple image here. It's a kind of an easy invoice, right? You probably get hundreds or thousands of these a month. But I wanted to kind of talk about some of the challenges that our accounting teams face as they have to get these into the system, right? First challenge is you get tons of them, right? Like there's hundreds or thousands of these that come in all the time. Now this one's pretty simple, but it's got a couple kind of like, a couple things about it that make it not so much fun to do, right? So if you're manually keying this in, and Chris told me there's an unofficial term called hand jamming, right? Like you're keying these in. You can see this pretty well, although it's kind of a low resolution copy, right? What's going on with the water spot there? Like somebody spilled their coffee, so that kind of makes it hard to read the invoice number. Now, not impossible. You can still figure it out, right? But it slows things down. It makes you less productive. And it's just, when you have hundreds or thousands of these to deal with, it's just one more thing that kind of, makes it harder to do your job. You could be, instead of keying these in, you could have the dual monitor, maybe you're a cut and paste kind of person, right? You got your ERP or your payment processing system open and you're Your other monitor's got the invoice and you're cutting and pasting. The other thing that kind of makes it hard to get these in quickly is potentially the name on the invoice, the vendor name on the invoice doesn't match what's in the ERP system, right? So like this is for Rhea Designs, maybe it's in the systems as Rhea Designs Inc. And although to humans, that's not a big deal, if you've got some sort of automation system and the names don't match, you could have problems getting that into the system. Or maybe vendor's not even in the system. And so you're getting lots of new vendors, you're adding vendors to the system all the time. And if that process takes a long time, you're never getting around to getting all the invoices in, and then the paperwork's just stacking up, right? Those are just a couple of the things we see when we talk to accounting people and talk to them about the challenges of their job. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we are at Ephesoft, we've thought a lot about this, and we actually have a product to make your life way easier and make your job a lot more fun. It's an AI, artificial intelligence based capture platform that will automatically extract data off invoices, flow it into your payment processing system, and you can make it simple and just flow it in, or you can do some other kind of cool stuff. But the fact that it's a cloud app means that it's easy to use, right? You just log into a browser and away you go. There's nothing to install, right? You just kind of log in and process your invoices. It's easy to configure. Like, we've thought about this. You shouldn't need a bunch of developers, or you shouldn't have to put in a bunch of calls to the IT team to kind of get this thing working. It's really easy to configure. It's just mouse configuration, no coding required. And what this will do for you is this will process all those hard to read invoices. This will get all the easy ones in. It'll just flow all those things in. And you'll be spending your time actually looking at exceptions, dealing with new vendors, maybe dealing with some of the more important aspects of your job, and not doing any more manual keying. So with that, I am now going to pass the time over to my friend Chris McWilliams, and he's actually going to give you a look at how this can make your job much easier. So Chris, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Darren. So yeah, that's a great overview, and I hear that a lot with conversations I have with many different people, and just keeping the data flowing into the system, into the process, is so important to not lose track or get it in at speed and velocity. So I want to spend a couple, before going into the demo, I want to spend a little bit of time just kind of going through the flow of the demo and how things, how invoices enter into the system, and we really gain that efficiencies. So starting at the top here, I'm going to kick the demo off with forwarding some emails with some emails attachment. That's actually the number one way accounting clerks are receiving invoices today, is all through email. So being able to forward it directly into an inbox that Ephesoft Semantik invoice is monitoring. So that's where all the real intense AI and data capture is happening inside Ephesoft Semantik. And we can do some nice things where we can import the vendor master file, which is usually a very critical part to assigning the correct invoice to the right invoice vendor inside my vendor master. So I'll talk a little bit about that and show that. Then once we have the data captured using the Semantik AI, we'll flow it into another platform that we're using in this solution called WorkAuto. So WorkAuto is a low-code, no-code platform, just like Semantik is, and it really allows business users or savvy people to go in and build, we call them recipes, to flow the data to the right accounting system. So in today's demonstration, we're going to use Oracle NetSuite, which is a very popular cloud-based ERP to integrate with. So once a document comes into the WorkAuto piece, we're going to do a couple things. So if it's if there's no action needed, I have some rules in there. It can actually flow right into NetSuite directly, and we'll look at example of that. And I also have another kind of piece I want to showcase, which is around approval. Some people, there's a lot of different ways people do AP approval. There's a way we can do it here in WorkAuto with an event. Basically, any invoice over $5,000, I'm going to trigger an approval event to happen. So I'll show you that. But I just wanted to kind of, I love visual aids, and this really kind of helps pull the whole demo together. So let's get into the software here. So this is my email, and you can see I have a few different emails attached, or invoices attached to this email. And I'll just click through these so you can see them, but there's some that have been scanned. So that's another very common way. So if people have paper email or paper documents, a lot of the scanners today will just scan directly to email. We have a couple different invoices here, multi-page, single page, you know, different types of vendors. This is a high dollar amount one. So this one's $27,000. So we're going to talk about that one a little later. Here is another, you know, big multi-page invoice, and so on. So a lot of time, like I said, it's very easy to just forward these in, just send the documents on and click send. So that will send those invoices into the Semantik engine, which we'll go look at next. But you'll notice I went to my inbox, and you can see I already have a notification telling me that something's already happened. And one of those invoices that I just forwarded in has already posted to the ERP. So that's a very important topic. And this is how, if things are above all the confidences that we've set up in Semantik, it'll actually just flow all the way into NetSuite, how we have it designed, and auto input all the information. So you can see the invoice number is here in NetSuite, the invoice dates, the totals, all those different things. And you can
So
even
Chris,
see,
I want to make sure people didn't miss that. You just hit a home run, right? Like this invoice went from email all the way into payment processing approval.
Exactly. So flows
Okay.
right into the bill table for Oracle NetSuite. So this is the ideal solution when we have a home run. That's how I like to call it too. And you can even see the invoice is tagged here as part of the record, which is also important. So that's the great happy path. Sometimes things need to be looked at. So let's jump over to Semantik, and kind of want to do a little tour over the Ephesoft Semantik platform. So you can see here at the top, you'll see some nice data pills here about how many invoices have been processed, how many automatically have been processed, how many have been manually processed, and things like that. You can see these are the couple that I send in, and there's one already that's been picked up by the Semantik assistant. So that was the one that flew all the way through. And I'm going to actually claim some invoices to look at them together here for a couple other pieces I want to showcase in the demo. So you can see this is the Semantik AI, and it's very easy to use, where users can actually click and select the fields, and it will map into the correct cell that we're processing data from. This is a great one too, because it, you know, this is our high dollar amount, but all the data has been captured correctly. And it's as easy for a user to just hit complete review when they're kind of reviewing this task. And that, like I said, we can set thresholds and dial this in, so we can control how many things automatically flow through, or how many things we want to spot check inside the Semantik engine. So I'll click complete review there, and jump to another one as well here. So this is a good one. I like to show this off, where you can actually search for your vendor and find a vendor match if the solution isn't confident or didn't find an exact vendor. So this one kind of made it stop here, but so you can see we have Quality Mat as the vendor name, and through our our searching mechanism, it's simple and easy to just search and find the vendor that I'm looking for. So you can see here in the vendor ID, there's a vendor ID of 1654 that's been pulled back as part of that vendor master. So that's important because this is how NetSuite associates the quality mat vendor with an ID and vendor record. Let's jump back and do a couple more things. So we also have a button here at the bottom that allows us to pull in line item detail. So I'm going to showcase that off here, where we can click the line item capture. And when we do, we can actually trigger a lasso event where I lasso this field or this table and hit extract table. So what that will do is we're again using a lot of different algorithms and learning events to go through and comb through these columns and rows, and then put them into a nice and neat organized table. So this can be a huge time saver if you're manually entering these line items in one by one. And you can see the Semantik AI has actually done a lot of heavy lifting for us. There's a couple columns that got misaligned, but I can fix that very easily by just redoing the tag. I can delete this column, the quantity, item number, all looks good, total looks good. So really, I'm kind of done with this one. All the data is good here, got due dates and things, so I can just hit complete review. And then it's really just that easy to just manage the exceptions. So you can start to see how efficient this can make an AP department, whether you have a few clerks or just even one. People are seeing benefits with this. So I'm going to jump back to my email, and we'll start to get some email triggers here. So anytime an invoice has been processed, we'll get a confirmation email that Semantik's processed one. But you'll notice I actually have an AP approval task as well. So this is that high dollar amount that we talked about. This is a $27,000 invoice. So maybe we should flow that through an approval task. So I'll click here just to kind of show you what an approval can look like. This is basically, it's very simple. You can click on a link through your email and either approve or reject that invoice. And we give all the data in context for you to make that approval and judgment call by listing the vendor name, the invoice amount, the invoice number. And if I need to, I can even get to the document to see it if I need to look at that document for any more reasons for my approval. So there's that one. I click approve. If I need to leave a note, I can leave a note, but it's just that easy. So there's lots of different approvals. Sometimes we flow up to department heads and do different things around that, and we can work with you to map out the correct approval process. So the next thing is I'm going to jump over to NetSuite one more time just to kind of show a couple more transactions. Since this is a live working demo, it's not smoke and mirrors. Things are really flowing into this. So I'm gonna actually pull up the vendor bill table and see all these different things. So this is a good one. This is the quality mat one that we actually just processed, which is the one we did table lasso around to pull in some of the data items. And you'll notice in this one, we've mapped all those invoice individual line items into the record as well. So completely flexible, like Darren said, everything's a low code, no code type of experience with NetSuite and Workato and Semantik. So just to kind of show you a little bit more about the recipe itself, this is an example of the flow for when something comes into Semantik and how it comes through and steps through all the information when we trigger approval tasks. So this is kind of a rule here where it just says if the total amount is greater than 5,000, we're going to route it to approval. So very easy to rapidly build out your process and stitch all these different systems together. So with that, Darren, I'll kick it back over to you and let you wrap it up.
Sounds great. Thank you, Chris. All right, so here we go. Let me bring it on home with a couple case studies. All right, so let's talk about how people are using the product right now. I'm kind of proud of this one. People might think this is a little bit of a cheat, but I'm really proud of this, and so is Allison, who's actually a staff accountant here at Ephesoft. So at Ephesoft, we use our own products, right? We drink our own champagne. Allison can use any product she wants. Obviously, we're excited she wants to use our product. We said, look, why are you excited about this? What about Semantik makes your job more fun? And she's like, well, look, I spent 80% less time processing invoices. You remember the home run that Chris showed where it like flowed all the way through? She's like, yeah, that's fun, right? Like I get all these things, you know, I'm doing my job. I've got a lot of different things I have to do as an accountant. And that stuff is like the no fun part, like the key and in part. She goes, but I'm seeing 80% of those flow right through. And you know, your mileage may vary. When they're never going to be 100% flowing through, right? Like Chris showed you, there could be some odd things, or maybe you know, maybe something needs a verification. She said, this isn't me. She said 0% error rate. Again, not a guarantee. You know, this is not 100% foolproof. There's always going to be copy stains or weirdness that you might have to double check, but that's fine. You know, if you could get 80% of this headache to go away, your job would be way more fun. She reiterated some of the things that Chris just said, right? Like it streamlines her process. She sees that this would be really good for high volume. Now at Ephesoft, we don't get a really high volume, but the next case study I'll show you actually has really high volume. So bear with me for a second. And so she's like, look, I spent 80% less time processing. It was really easy to set up, and I could see how this would be good for a high volume company. Great thought, Allison. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's talk about a high volume invoice company. So this case study, OnePay, is actually a BPO, so a business process outsourcing company. They actually, all they do is process invoices, and they do it for your favorite fast food restaurants, but also for financial services organizations. And so their whole business model is processing invoices for other people. So this is the volume play. You can see some of their results. Now, one data source, right, which is their division, grew 200%, right? So like they're processing tons more invoices without hiring any more accountants, because remember, everything is, not everything, a lot of the invoices are flowing right through. So they're basically touchless. When you do get a new vendor, or if there's an invoice that you don't recognize, they said setup time is reduced by 96%. So they're not spending a lot of time adjusting the system for new invoices. And they're reporting 80 to 85% reduced time on their implementation. Now, remember, they're an outsourced company. They have a lot of checks and balances in place. There's some customization they did. So Ephesoft is flexible. We'll work with you. We'll make sure that we match your business case. But the big takeaway here is that you're going to get a dramatic improvement in the amount of invoices that flow through the system without hiring a bunch more people, right? So that should make everybody really happy. All right. So to kind of summarize before I get to questions, you know, one of the things we say at Ephesoft is don't take our word for it, you know, try it out, see what you think. And so if you go to ephesoft.com, we actually have a free trial where we will set up a test environment. It's a cloud tenant, right? But it's a test environment where you can submit your invoices. So you can get the copy stain invoices. You can get the ones that look like they've been Xerox copied 20 times, or the stuff that's just not clear. Because we want you to try it before you buy. We're convinced that if you see how easy it is to use and how well it handles even some of the most problem invoices, you're gonna see the value right away. Now, if you're an organization, you've got some customization you want to do, if you've got business process or you've got other applications and it's really important for you to kind of understand how all the parts fit together, we can do that too. Chris here has a team. We have people that can take your questions and that can work with you to sort of map out how this is going to look in your environment. And then if you're still really not sure, you're like, yeah, I know, but maybe it sounds a little too good to be true. We've got more invoice processing case studies that you can go check out. So if you go up to ephesoft.com, you go into the solutions area and you pick invoice processing, you'll see more case studies from customers just like you, right? So give us a chance. Let us show you how we've helped other organizations, because we're going to be able to make your job more fun, guaranteed. All right, so with that, I think we have a couple minutes left here, Chris. So it looks like we have a couple questions. So Chris, are you okay to take a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so question is, what if we don't have Workato? So in your overall flow, you had Semantik and Workato and NetSuite. So you talked about some brand names. So what if the customers don't have Workato? What would we do for them?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so the way Semantik is architected is that we can actually interface with any type of SaaS or iPaaS platform. So if your organization is really heavy in Microsoft Power Automate, or Zapier is another popular one, there's lots of different ways to manage how data flows in and out between different applications. So that's kind of one example. If a little bit technical, if you're kind of understand how these applications all sit to one another, we have what's called a generic webhook inside of Semantik. So you can actually build your own webhook to basically have an event trigger whenever one of these invoice transaction is finished. So I just used Workato because that can be a nice way to glue some of these apps together. They have a really nice NetSuite integration, and you can stitch it up quite easily and quickly. So that's
perfect.
But yeah, that's great. And NetSuite, the follow-on question I usually get to that one is, what if we don't use NetSuite? So
you figured that one out. We use Sage, right?
Yeah.
So there's an ERP. So Sage is another ERP, right? So you use NetSuite. So go ahead. I interrupted. I apologize.
Yeah, no. I just Workato is that platform. It has lots of integrations and connectors into those other accounting platforms. So like Sage, like QuickBooks, like any of these other kind of applications.
Got it. We had another question chatted in. Do I need to sign up with Workato in order to connect to my ERP and other systems?
So it's kind of that depends, right?
We can help you do it, or if you have it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So like if you have NetSuite, I would recommend Workato because it has a good connector. So it all just kind of depends on which one you're using in your kind of overall platform and how the data is going to flow.
Okay, it looks like we just have another minute. So how is this priced? I'll take that one. That's always a hard question. Vendors are always a little bit evasive about it. The short answer is we price this on number of invoices processed. So the more invoices you process, the more expensive it is. The good part about that is we have volume discounts. So if you process more, we start working with you on discounts. But I'm not a salesperson. So if you do have those questions, if you do want to get a real price quote, you can come to our website, fill out the form, and one of our sales representatives will get with you. We'll give you a price quote so you can just you can kind of see how that all looks for you to make sure it makes sense, good business sense for you. Last question here, Chris. I know we only have a few more seconds, but if something is not processed automatically, what happens? So like we didn't hit a home run. I think you showed this, but if you could just kind of go back through that would be helpful.
Yeah. So when you saw the Semantik invoice screen. So that's where I call it like you can manage your QC. It's a little bit of a data quality control screen. So before the data flows into the accounting system, we have the ability to threshold and set those fields so that we can actually put human eyeballs on any exceptions. But the idea is the easy ones and the ones that we can nail just flow automatically through the system. But if we do need to triage or look at something, we have a great little solution there too to quickly adjust the values.
Fantastic. Great answer. So Chris, thank you very much on behalf of the audience. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Great demo. I think it was very clear, very easy. To you, the audience, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please pop out to www.ephesoft.com. You can fill out a trial form if you want to try it yourself. There's lots of ways that you can get in touch with us. If you have questions, we'd love to answer it. We'd love to work with you to make your job easier. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks.